Everything began when James Cunningham, a Scottish surgeon and amateur naturalist in the late 17th century, brought back some tea seeds from China. At the beginning, the tea prices were such in a high price that only the super rich could afford it. Tea was worth almost 10 times the price of even the best coffee. In an age before income tax, tea duties accounted for 10% of government revenues, which was enough to pay for the Royal Navy. But as tariffs on it were very high, it gave smugglers their chance. In some areas, whole communities were dependent on smuggling tea. At the time, Britain already traded spices, silk, and exotic goods with China. The demand for tea increased, and China was the only country where tea could be found at the time. So the East India Company sent Robert Fortune, a botanist in the 1850s, on a secret mission to bring tea seeds on land that was part of the British Empire. He stole some tea seeds and became the first industrial thief in history. He had to bring tea to India going through Hong Kong and Calcutta in India. Thanks to him, India became the first producer of tea over China. In the end, it was the economics that finally put an end to the smuggling era. Britain's adoption of a free trade policy in the 1840s reduced import duties significantly, making smuggling no longer viable. Because the British East India Company had a monopoly over the tea industry, tea became more popular than coffee, chocolate, and alcohol. Tea was popularized in England during the 1660s by King Charles II and his wife, the Portuguese Infanta Catherine of Braganza. It was not until the mid 19th century that the concept of afternoon tea first appeared. Tea owes much of its popularity in Britain to a foreign princess. She was an example for most of the women in England. Also, she is the one that introduced the afternoon tea in England. There are different occasions and ways to drink tea according to the situation or the moment of the day. Also, in the British language, there are also some idioms. For example, it is not a cup of tea to express your dislike, or when you compare something with a cup of tea, it means that this thing is positive. Also, when you are in an uncomfortable situation, you can say, more tea, Vicar, to get out of it. Tea can also be used to talk about an alcoholic, or, for example, in the question, can't you lay off that tea a while? It means that you're talking about drugs. Everyone drinks tea, whatever their social class, but with variations. The fact that you use more and less milk, or if you take sugar or not, can be an indicator of your social class. At the time, it was a precious and rare commodity, consumed by the upper classes, in domestic rituals, to an absolute necessity in the British diet, even among the poor working classes.